You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday, 14th day of October, 2022. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts each and every trading day. The first live broadcast is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That is our live training room, and that broadcast is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you want to take your 1-week free trial, if you've never taken the free trial, you get one. Michael will show you in just a few minutes exactly how to do that so that you can join us beginning Sunday night for your 1-week trial. Now at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon Eastern for the afternoon broadcast, which is different than the morning broadcast. And the afternoon broadcast is open to the public. That's everybody, everywhere. All you need is an internet-connected device. It could be a phone, a tablet, a PC, or a Mac, anywhere on planet Earth, as long as you've got internet. Now, there's 2 ways to join the afternoon broadcast. Both, of course, will require that you have access to internet. But the best way, go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down to where it says afternoon broadcast. Click the link. Fill out the 30-second registration form. And then every trading day going forward, you'll get an email before the broadcast starts. In the email, you will find a link. All you have to do is click the link, and it will automatically log you into our go-to platform. And the reason that's the better way is because it gives you access to the question box so that you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. On the days, of course, that you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join the afternoon show live, point your browser to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN. Easy to remember, youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live on our YouTube channel every trading day, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are well over 2,000 daily live broadcasts archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. Now, if you're new to the world of CFRN, I can't encourage you enough to go to the YouTube channel and not only watch today's show or yesterday's show, but go back 6 weeks, go back 6 months, a year, 2 years. Find out not only who we are today, but who we were back then. I think what you'll be most surprised to find is we're the same now as we were then. Because everything we do, everything we teach, everything we provide is based upon the underlying principles of which all markets operate. Those underlying principles have been in effect since the inception of the markets, and they will remain in effect until the markets cease to exist. So if you're caught up in that vicious cycle of Googling till your fingers bleed, looking for the Holy Grail, changing your swing every time you step up to the plate, please Stop the madness. The parlor tricks, the circus acts, the sleight of hand. You've had enough. You've wasted enough time and treasure on tomfoolery. It's now time to roll up your sleeves and actually learn how to trade. So with that said, let's open with a word of prayer as we do. Today our scripture is Luke 12:15 through 21. Be on your guard against covetousness in any shape or form. For a man's real life in no way depends upon the number of his possessions. A rich man's farmland produced heavy crops. So he said to himself, what shall I do? For I have no room to store this harvest of mine. Then he said, I know what I'll do. I'll pull down my barns and build bigger ones, where I can store all my grain and all my goods, and I can say to my soul, Soul, you have plenty of good things stored up there for many years to come. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, You fool, this very night you will be asked for your soul. This is what happens to the man who hoards things up for himself and is not rich in the eyes of God. Now, all week we've opened the show talking about financial anxiety. It's something all of us have experienced at some point in our life when we've had little and especially when we've had much. When we have little, we may not know if we're going to make the rent or where the next meal will come from. But when we have much, we're anxious because somebody may try to break in and take what's ours. And that's part of the key to the anxiety right there. Whether you have little or much, it's not yours. Everything belongs to God. You have simply been appointed a steward. So, what is the remedy for financial anxiety? When we're struck by anxious thoughts about our financial provision, it would be great if we could just wish our predicament away by thinking happy thoughts. Unfortunately, it will take a little more than that to help us climb out of such mental distress. In the latter part of Acts, Paul writes about the early church community. These new believers in Jesus didn't grasp tightly to their possessions or money. They allowed whatever they had to lay loosely on their outstretched hands. It was all God's provision in their lives. They didn't trust in what He gave them. They simply and powerfully trusted in Him as their sole provider. They didn't cherish the gift. They cherished the giver. So what can we gain from this passage and others throughout the Bible about finding a remedy for financial anxiety? While there are plenty of ideas, here are two that will truly revolutionize the way we see our financial outlook. Now, you've probably heard the phrase, thankful people are happy people. And there's so much truth in that. Think about it. Have you ever met a person filled with gratitude who is unhappy? You haven't. When we set our minds on being thankful for what we do have, we're less likely to worry, fret, or whine over what we don't have. Every time you feel anxiety approaching, write down or speak aloud what you're thankful for. As you do this, you'll come to the realization that what God has provided for you is truly a gift. When we have a generous mindset, we're choosing to be free in our giving. One translation of Scripture says that God loves the hilarious giver. Now, that doesn't mean being stupid with your money. It's okay to have money as long as your money doesn't have you. Much like the early church believers, we're open-handed with what we have, hoping that it can bless another. The moment we begin to clench our fists around money or possessions, we've lost sight of a generous lifestyle. Exhibiting generosity doesn't mean that we have an abundance of possessions or even money. We don't wait to win the lottery, receive an inheritance, or land a six-figure career. Living with a mindset of generosity means that what we have, we share. Look for ways to be generous with whatever you have, big or little. What you consider unwanted may be an answered prayer to someone else. Incorporating gratitude and generosity in our lives will shift our mindset from "I'll never have enough and can't help anyone" to "I'm thankful for what I have, so I will bless others." As we make this mental shift, we'll begin to live our lives with God's overwhelmingly abundant peace, which will in turn erase all financial anxiety. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings, for your mercy, and for your grace in our lives. In our group and around the world, there are many who have little and many who have much. Help each one of us to understand what we've discussed this week. And we pray that anxiety over finances will no longer be a part of our life, because we put our trust not in the things of this world, but we put our faith and our trust in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody said amen. So how's Dad?
Well, they really don't know. They he had this other procedure that he was supposed to get next week that I was hoping they were gonna do now, but they're saying no, they're gonna send him home. I don't know when, maybe the next day or two. But he had like double pneumonia in his chest and
Wow.
all kinds of other things going on.
I heard you say he was medevaced in.
Yeah, he was. He
was he out hiking the Appalachian Trail, or?
No, he was brought from his house to the hospital that was closest to his house in the ambulance, and then at that hospital they medevaced him to a better hospital in Hartford.
My stepfather went through a very similar experience, except it was in a helicopter. Was your dad in a helicopter or a plane?
Helicopter.
Okay, well, that's what my stepfather was in, and he said, my chest was hurting. He goes, and then when that helicopter, got airborne, and I'm sitting there he goes, then I really felt stressed. So, yeah.
If you don't like to fly, and my dad doesn't.
I don't think he had ever flown before.
I don't know if that helped or hurt, but I don't know. I don't know how much he was with it at the time, from what Les was saying.
Well, we'll ask everyone in our community, pray for Michael's dad. Pray for his health, restoration of his health, and that he have many good years, quality years, left on this earth before he goes home to be with the Father. Let me give you the numbers from around the world, guys. We're going to start here in the U.S. with the indices, the cash markets. Oh, by the way, Garrett's going to join us later in the broadcast at 1 p.m. Eastern. Currently, the Dow is down 304 points, 1%. NASDAQ is down 268 points, 2.5%. S&P 500 is down 72, 2%. And the Russell 2000 down 31 points, just shy of 2%. This thing has played out literally on cue to the tick, the way we discussed it last night in the workshop. Now, we didn't say this is what's going to happen next because we don't know the future. We said this is the next high probability move based on what we're looking at right here, right now. And when we get into the charts in a little bit, I'll show you exactly what we were looking at and exactly why we said what we said. In the commodity basket, crude oil down $2.91, trading 86.20 last, drop of over 3%. Gold down $24, trading 16.53 last. It's a drop of 1.5%. Silver down 74 cents, trading 18.17 last. That's a drop of 4%. And we're inching in on $5,000 to the downside per futures contract traded. Now, let me just talk about oil for 1 second. We know that our president went to Saudi Arabia, spoke to OPEC, and asked for more oil. Because we can't use the oil that we have, only our emergency stockpile, the strategic reserve. But we're not allowed in this administration to drill, to explore, to produce, to refine. We've gone in the course of 2 years from being a net exporter of crude to a net importer. And that's why gasoline at the pump has gone from $2 to $5 to $7, $8, even as high as $9, I think, and $10 in some places. So, the president went to OPEC, Saudi Arabia, the man he accused of killing Khashoggi, and he asked for them to increase production. They said no. Not only are we not going to increase production, we're going to whack production by 2 million barrels a day. Now, if you understand supply and demand, less demand means a higher price. So why is crude oil down 4% on the day? I'll let you ponder that. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei up 853 points. It's 3.25%. Shanghai up 55 points, almost 2%. Hang Seng up 198 points, 1.25%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 8, the DAX up 82, the CAC up 52. And for the CAC, that's almost 1%. So, that gives us a green day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. But it's a big red Radio Friday here in the US of A. Let's go to Michael, get a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live training room. After that, I'll come back and we'll look at the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts. We'll look at the charts. And then Garrett will be joining us at approximately 1 p.m. Eastern, which is roughly 45 or 40 minutes from now. Michael, I can see your screens. It's all yours.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. Today is Friday, the 14th day of October 2022. All right, so right here, if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go to mytradingiq.com right here. It says grab a seat for 5 days of trading and training. Click on that. And you'll be sent everything you need I believe this should be updated right now, and you'll be sent everything you need to get into the. Oops, it is not updated yet. I'm sure Valerie is on that. But you'll be sent everything you need to sign up for the room starting on Monday. All right. You. Wait, sorry, that just threw me. Sorry. You'll be sent everything you need to get started in the room on Monday. You also, when you do that, you should go here to platforms and download the charting platform. Now, if you're starting the trial today, that's great. That's fine. If you didn't get into the room this morning, that's okay too. You should still download the platform so you have the platform over the weekend, so you'll be able to look at things over the weekend. Now, DT Pro, you're not going to have data on a Saturday, but you will get it Sunday, and the markets do open up, and we, with the concierge trade alerts and whatnot, open up Sunday night at 6 p.m. So it's good to get the platform if you're doing the trial over the weekend. Get the platform now before the weekend begins. That would be good. You should download the trade handout. Take a look at the trade handout. Let's get all the rules for the trade setups. All right, and watch the videos. The videos have everything you need to see, so you know what to expect when you get in the room in the morning session. Okay. All right, get into the results. Been another good day on the ES today. Today was more of a consistent good day on the ES. So yesterday was all good from 11 to 11:30. Today was pretty good, pretty much most of the morning. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 14th day of October 2022. We made 27 ticks in crude, 1 tick in gold, and 109 ticks on the ES. That puts us at $1,642.50 on the morning session. Today it took 5 minutes and 1 trade to get to the goal for the day. That put her up $100 a contract, and it took a bunch of trades this morning. It took 33 trades this morning. And so on the month now, that puts us at $10,257. That's over 10 days, averaging $1,025 per contract per 2-hour trading day. On the year now, we've gone 195 days getting our goal, and we've gone 256 days since our last negative day. All right, so that puts us at $199,538 on the year. We're so close to making 200 grand on the year. But yesterday was the day we hit $1 million. If you were to do everything we did in the room and add 1 contract a month. But anyway, that's not where you're going. Right now, start out with 1 contract, work your way up. That's where this is right here. If you could average $4,246 per hour and only have to work 31 and almost 32 hours a year so far, that's really where you want to be, isn't it? I think it probably is. Anyway, so on the year we're at $199,538, averaging $1,023 per hour. That was $1,014 2 days ago. It's $1,023 today. That is good. That's what I want to do. And if you added 1 contract per month and quit trading, when you got your goal for the day, you would now be averaging $4,246 an hour on the year. Okay, so get into gold first. Now we had some trades in gold. We ended up just barely positive in gold. It wasn't that it was hard to trade. It wasn't really. It didn't move around as much as I wanted to. If I'd have gotten in some of these really big trades, and if I'd have held on a little longer on some of these trades, then it'd have been a lot better result. But as it was, I started out right here on gold. I got something right there, and that's not where I started. Hang on, here it is. We started out right here with -10. That's where we started. All right, then I had a break even. Then I got 4 ticks there that brought me to -6. Then I missed a beautiful trade right here that would have gotten us everything back. Then I stopped out here pretty much to the tick. This last one was pretty much to the tick too. The first trade here, like both of the stop outs that I had, they're actually my fault. But this one was to the tick, and thanks, Val. I figured it was no big deal. This one was to the tick, and this one was also to the tick, and they both ended up going in the right direction. Then I did grab onto this, and when I did, I was at -16. Then I picked up 4 more ticks right there to get me to -12. And then I picked up 13 ticks here to get me to, I picked up 12 ticks to get me to 0 and 1 tick to get me to 1. that is where I ended it on the morning session. I was thinking we were going to have one more trade here as it was starting to shut down. I was actually kind of relieved that we didn't, because I didn't want to go from +1 to -9. I didn't want to take that chance that close to the end of the session because I wouldn't have time to make it back. But anyway, as it worked out, there was one red off a red trade right here. You could have taken that for some profit. It would have been a break even for me, but you could have taken it for some profit. And there really wasn't anything else on gold during the break. Now the crude oil, let's go all the way back here. All right, on crude, we started out right in here. Our first trade on crude was what? +5. Okay, our next one was a break even. Then we had a +9 to get us to, I'm sorry, +4 to get us to 9. Then a +8 to get us to 17. Then a break even. Then another break even. I missed a couple of trades in here, you can see. Another break even. Then right here, I picked up 10 ticks to get me to 27. And then another break even. And I missed a trade there. I missed a trade there. And I missed a trade there. You see how flat it got in here? Flat and choppy all through here. Then we're at the end of the session here. I missed a trade here, and then we get into the break. And during the break, blue off a blue and red off a red. There was one red off a red right here that worked out well. And that was it. All right. So if you're just doing the blue off of blues and the red off of reds, again, today was a good day for that. But we will go all the way back here now. All the way back here. On the ES. There was a lot of movement on the ES today. Let me back it out like this, that'd be a little easier. All right. So there was a lot of movement on the ES. We got our goal for the day on the ES, our very first trade. Right in here, we picked up 8 ticks on that trade. Then we followed it up with an 8-point trade. We got 8 ticks on that one, and then we got 8 points on that one. That got us to +32. I missed the follow-up trade here. I know some guys got the follow-up trade there, and some guys actually got that one too. I missed that one. I got that one. I missed that one. There's a lot of money to be made right there in the first 10 minutes on the ES. I did get this one. I went from 40 to 48 right there. And then I stopped out down to 38. Then I picked up, actually, I didn't write down what I picked up there, but I did write down that I stopped out there. I think I picked up 4 ticks right there. But I went from 38 down to 28. And then over here I had a 12-tick gain, went to 40. And then I went from 40 to 45, and then 45 to 61, and then 61 to 81. And then from 81 to 90. I think that's right in here somewhere. We went to 90. Then I went from 90 to 102. So I had a break even, and then a +12. Then a stop out, went back down to 92. Then we went from 92 back to 100. So I had an 8 tick and then a 9 tick right in there. And that got us to 109 on the morning session. Looks like I had a couple more break evens. And I missed a trade there. Another break even in here. Missed a couple more trades, and that was it on the morning. So there was plenty of opportunity on the ES. Some really nice trades were triggered up in there in the IRS. And anyway, here we go. Right in here, we had a short right there, and a short right there, red off of reds and blue off of blues. That's how I'm pointing out to you right now. So we had 2 red off of reds, really. It was all crunched up in here. That's why I'm not mentioning that. And that was it. Just 2 red off of reds during the break. But there was a bunch of opportunity today on the ES, right? Just like there was yesterday. I should have probably been better than 109. That was at +80, I think, in less than an hour. So I was really thinking I was going to do better than that, but then I probably got distracted. Anyway, speaking of getting distracted, this is the spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 14th day of October, 2022. Today we made 37 ticks in crude, 1 tick in gold, and 109 ticks on the ES. Today it took 5 minutes and one trade to get to the goal for the day. At that point, it was $100 a contract, and it took a total of 33 trades. That put us at $1,642 on the morning session. Today it took 5 minutes and one trade to get to $100 a contract. That puts us at $10,257 on the month, averaging $1,025 per day this month so far. Okay, on the year, we've got our goal every day so far this year, 195 days. And we've gone 256 days since our last down day. And that puts us now at $199,538 on the year. So Monday, if we have $500 day on Monday, hopefully we will. I'll check the news events. Give me a good idea, but probably will on Monday, and that would get us to $200,000 on the year. So far, we're only in October. We still have 2 full months left, 2.5 months. Granted, there are some big holidays in there, so there'll be slow periods, but that's still pretty good. Averaging $1,023. This far into the year, we're averaging $1,023 per day. All right, having a good month like that is okay, but when you're that good on the year, that means we've had some great volatility and great opportunity this year. So if you aren't doing this, you really should be. All right. I'll say this again too. If you quit trading when you got your goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract per month, you would have only had to work 31.95 hours so far this year. And you would have averaged $4,246 for each one of those hours. Now, that's not to say that you're going to sit there and work 1 hour per day for 31 days or 32 days, and you're going to make $4,200 per hour. But if you look at the amount of time that we've worked so far this month getting our goal, it's 5, 15, 24, 28, 32, no, 30, 20, 28, 36, 46, 53, 58. Is that right? 36. Yeah, 46, 53, 58, 68, 70, 77 minutes. We worked so far this month. 77 minutes for $10,257 with 1 contract. Actually, is that right? No, it's 77 minutes. 77 minutes for 12,600. Wait a minute. If it's just 1 contract. It's just 1 contract, then it's this number. No, on the month. Yeah, on the month. If you quit when you got your goal for the day on the month, with 1 contract, it'd be $1,262. If you were up to 10 contracts and you work those same 77 minutes, it'd be at $12,625. That's the number right there. 1 contract, 10 contracts. Pretty good 77 minutes on the month. Actually, on the month, you'd be at 10,000. Yeah, 10,257. Anyway, don't want to confuse everybody with all that. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to the homepage at mytradingiq.com. Right here it says grab a seat for 5 days of trading and training. Click on that and watch. Click on that. And you'll be brought to this form. Magically, you'll be brought to this form, and just fill out this form, and you'll have everything you need to get into the room on Monday morning. See, it says 9:30 to 11:30, starting Monday, October 17th. Do that, okay? Now, when you do that, you should also go here to the platforms and download the platform. Whatever platform you have, if you don't have one of our platforms, then download DT Pro. All right, if you download DT Pro, your indicators will look exactly like mine. Right, you get the same stuff that I have, and you can have DT Pro on the trial for the duration of your trial with us. You can have DT Pro, so you can have your charts looking just like ours. If you have a problem uploading DT Pro or downloading DT Pro or getting it to run, let us know, and we will do everything we can to get it running for you on your desktop. It is best for you to have everything running when you start your trial. All right. Also, go to the trade handout. Look at the rules in here for the trade setups. And go to videos. If you go to videos, you will see everything that's going to happen in the room in the morning. This is the same stuff that I do every day. Okay. Just get a little head start on it. All right. That is it, guys. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for coming this afternoon. And I'm going to pass it out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
I am ready.
Excellent. Excellent.
Recap of the recap.
Today it took 5 minutes and 1 trade to get to $100 per contract.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
And while Michael was giving you the recap of the live training room, I texted Garrett, and he will indeed be here if he can get logged in. Any of you who've had problem logging into the GoToWebinar platform of late, last night's workshop, I finally got in on the 5th attempt, and I'm the organizer. So if you're having trouble, don't give up. Just keep doing it, and it'll eventually open. Okay. On an average day, I have maybe 3 attempts, but last night was a standout with 5. So anyway, as week 219 comes to a close in Logic 247, after 2, 3, and incredibly smooth as silk weeks, this has been a bumpy ride. So anyone out there who was doing great and then you ran into challenges in your personal trading this week, don't be too harsh on yourself. The way the market behaved this week was not as easy. Well, once you understand our methodology and strategy, you always know with a high degree of certainty what the next high probability move is.
I just wanted to throw in there. We had people like yesterday particularly, just to support what Dwayne is saying, who threw in the towel after the first hour yesterday when I had the best half an hour that I've had in a long time, from 11 to 11:30 yesterday. So it's like the markets are really spotty, and it seems like it's a lot based on people waiting for specific news events and things like that. And so, if you had a hard time this week, you're not alone.
That's right. Well said.
Yes.
Well said. So I want you to be encouraged, and I don't want you to let the past destroy your future. So you come in Sunday night when the markets open at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when the Logic channel opens. Come in with fresh eyes and everything you've learned. Nothing's changed. When we hit a rough patch, a rough week, a rough day, we don't change anything, because we know that what we do over the long haul works just fine. You simply have to know what to do, when to do it, then do it. And over the last 219 weeks, we've issued over 120,000 individual Logic 247. I'm just kidding. I said 20,000 yesterday for some reason, but it's actually 12,000. We've issued over the last 219 weeks. Now over 12,000 individual, handcrafted Logic 247 alerts. I know some people think I have a little machine on my desk that just spits out the alerts like a ticker tape. No, each and every one is handcrafted. Okay. Now the markets open Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. The futures market, not the stock market. But we're an organization about trading futures. So the Logic 247 alert channel opens for business Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, and remains open around the clock, because futures trade around the clock, until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, when the week officially ends. We've had more stop outs this week than we had in the previous 3 weeks combined, I believe. Those of you who have access to the channel, you can go in and check it for yourself. When a week is completed, everything that we've done becomes part of the public domain. Okay? We're incredibly transparent with everything we do, because we've seen and experienced and lived through and survived the nonsense that goes on out there in the world of trading education. Okay? And I know that a lot of you have too. And we're certainly glad that you found a home here with us. And we're especially excited that you're now on the path to becoming a consistently profitable trader. And the good news is, whether it's a slow week, a fast week, an erratic week, like we've seen this week, once you learn our strategy and how to read our indicators and understand how price flows on the chart, you'll never have to change a thing. Now, that's not just for the futures market. Everything I just said applies to individual stocks. If you want to go that route, Google, Apple, doesn't matter. Now, when you get down into the ultra small cap stocks, the penny stocks, okay, those don't follow technical rules because there's mass market maker manipulation, which is why many brokerage firms won't allow you to buy stocks that are priced under $5. That was Merrill Lynch's standing rule for many years. I don't think Merrill's even around anymore. Maybe they are. But anyway, think about it. All the time in trading you've spent trying to learn how to trade, trying this, trying that, studying this, following that guru, doesn't have to be that way. Okay? If, when you become a lifetime member, if you'll show up for class and then either tune in live or after the fact to the afternoon broadcast, and while you're in the room in the morning, ask lots of questions. And when you're in the members-only workshops on Thursday night, like last night, members were asking some great questions. I was honored to be able to be there to answer those questions for everyone who had questions. As a member of this family, we don't, hand you a set of indicators, a PDF, and a hearty pat on the back and wish you the best. We give you 2 hours of live training every day, unlimited one-on-one mentoring, and around-the-clock support via our Telegram discussion groups. All things you simply will not find anywhere else. And our ultimate goal is not to find some new thing to sell you, because once you purchase the CFRN passport, that's for life. Never expires. No recurring fees, no upsells. No new shiny objects to buy every other week. Once a member for life. Along with 2 hours of live training every day, unlimited one-on-one private mentoring, a strategy that will serve you just as well on stocks as it does on futures, also crypto, also Forex, because price flows the same across all markets, all time frames. The Logic 247 alerts, of which there's now 12,000 and change. The CTAs, which are published every night shortly after the Globex Open for going on about a decade now. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Your passport is waiting for you at eminifuturestrading.com. It's a simple page, a couple of mouse clicks. You become a member of the family. Now, if you have any questions about becoming a passport holder, call Valerie at 949-42-EMINI. If she's on the line or out of the office, leave a message. She will get back to you. Or send an email to support@cfrn.net. With or without a passport, you're going to end up in one of these two groups. By becoming a passport holder, you at least have a fighting chance at becoming the 1 out of 10. Those are some brutal statistics. Even the Navy SEALs, which has been deemed the hardest job on planet Earth, doesn't have a washout rate of 90%. So this week we've issued 75 alerts. 10 never triggered. Still waiting on 7. That gave us 58 actionable alerts, of which 12 or 21% would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade. Please hear this, less when possible. Okay? Very important. $300 is the maximum risk. First, you have to identify what's the potential profit in the trade. If it's $10,000, you still don't want to risk more than $300. Okay? And you never want to risk more than what the potential profit is, because that's bad math, bad science, and soon you'll be sending another wire to Chicago. Okay? Now, again, we had more stop outs this week than the last 2 weeks and possibly even the last 3 weeks combined. So will I spend the weekend, going back to the drawing board, refiguring out how to do things? Absolutely not. Over 219 weeks, we've averaged 20% of the alerts being stopped out. The market does the next high probability thing 80% of the time. But 20% of the time it doesn't, because the order flow shifts in the middle of a trade. Plain and simple. You get into a long trade because there's more buying pressure than selling pressure. You get into a short trade because there's more selling pressure than buying pressure. But while you're in the midst of that trade, that order flow can change and you can do nothing about it. No need to stress, no need to freak, no need to cry, although sometimes you may feel like it. Being stopped out is as much a part of trading as breathing is a part of life. The two go hand in hand. There is no indicator, no oscillator, no holy grail, no guru, no tea leaves, tarot cards, or gurus with crystal balls that can provide you with a surefire method to never get stopped out again. I know you get the emails and you click the links and you go to the websites and you read some very sexy professional ad copy that promises you the moon but ultimately delivers you diddly squat, which is a technical term. Okay? Now, the logic alerts come out around the clock because we have traders around the world. Our day session is their night session and vice versa. Logic alerts are based on current price action. However, each handcrafted alert has time built into it to give you a chance to receive the alert, study your chart, and then take action. When I issue an alert, I'm showing you where the window of opportunity is. The thing that I don't know is at what moment in time that alert is actually going to trigger. And more importantly, I don't know what the market structure will look like when it triggers. So there's no free ride just trading the alerts and not having to learn how to trade. The alerts are an aid to learning how to trade. 2 hours of live training every morning, the logic alerts around the clock, and our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts, which are based on historic price action. When historic price action meets current price action, that is where you'll find some of your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. One of our members just commented that he was one of the people who threw in the towel. So, thanks for being so transparent and honest about that. Early on in my futures trading career, I was in a room with about 100 people. And every day, they would ring their bell and say, got it, got it, got it. Meaning they got their goal for the day. But when I left that group and Michael and I began what is now the current CFRN. CFRN was already open and up and running, but it became what it is today beginning in 2008. Michael and I met in 2006. The second I removed that guru from my radio program, I was besieged with phone calls and emails. I'm like, wait a minute. You used to ring your bell every day and say, got it. But now you're telling me that all you did was lose money or lose your job or lose your marriage or lose your business because you were chasing something that didn't exist. Well, I just wanted to impress the teacher, was often the most often heard thing. I figured if he thought I was doing really good, he would share with me the secret, how he really does it. No one knows if he ever really did do it, because God instructed him to teach people how to trade, not show people how to trade. That's why we're so dedicated to that live training room every morning, where either Michael or Valerie actually shows you how to do what we teach you how to do. I'm not going to call any names. That's all in the past. And I will add, I learned some very important things about trading and the nature of markets during that experience. It was a horrible experience, but I was able to take good things out of it. Okay? And a lot of those people now, thanks to the hard work at CFRN, are consistently profitable traders. The concierge alerts are published as a static report every evening shortly after the Globex open. 2 numbers for each market. Whatever markets you trade, make note of where price is at this point in time. Because going forward, if price starts trending up towards 37.17, using the ES as an example, that's bullish. And so our strategy will look for opportunities to be long the market. On the other hand, if price starts trending down towards 35.96, that's bearish. Our strategy will look for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you're going to use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room every trading day to yourself find opportunities to be long or short the market. And almost every day without fail, the market will give you an opportunity to reach your goal for the day, long or short, before price actually gets to the numbers that are published in the report. All right, let's go to the daily chart. It's where we start every day. I encourage you, whatever market you trade, always start your trading session, no matter what time of day you trade, with a daily chart. And you say, but I don't trade the daily chart. Okay, last night in the workshop, price had crept up above the 24% reverse fib. It was about to overcome the Thursday high. Might have even just barely overcame the Thursday high. Or it might have been sitting, I think it was sitting just below the 24% reverse fib. And so at that point I said, because we had gotten above red and falling, I said the next high probability move will be up to the daily BBC, where we expect resistance. And you can see how much we've dropped from 37.32 down to roughly 36.05. Okay, we're back at, now we're knocking on the door again at that 38% fib extension. It was last Friday that I put these extensions on, and it's mapped out exactly what has happened this week. And again, not because we have crystal balls or tea leaves or tarot cards or magic. It's all logical. This is 14th century math. It's not the last thing to come down the pike. You just have to learn how to use it, and we will teach you. We are approaching that 38% fib. Now, since I drew these last week, we've hit that 38% extension once, twice, 3 times. And then during the Thursday session, we spiked it all the way down below the 50%. So we had to adjust our lower reverse fib line. But we still have the 62 fib below us and the 100% price extension. But we pulled right up to the VBC just like we did here. And the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. And when the pullback holds, that means when we pull up and it holds, we're heading down. We pull up and it holds, we're heading down. Now, because the markets are fractal in nature, that's true across every market, every time frame. I'm not going to draw the little thing today because I've done it every day this week. If you've missed it, then go look at yesterday's broadcast or the day before or the day before. Okay? Or I think I even did it in the workshop last night. So we can say with a high degree of probability that price is trying to get to the 38% fib. And then if it can get below the 38% fib extension, then we would expect it to go to the 50, as it did yesterday. And if we could close today, or do close today, below the 38, then look for the 50 Sunday night. And if we should somehow close below the 50 today, then look for the 62 Sunday night. And if we make it to the 62, that means we'll be moving this lower fib line again. All right. 30-minute chart. Vertical line separates today, which is Friday, from yesterday, Thursday, from the previous day, Wednesday. We opened last night and consolidated for hours at the weekly trading zone. We've published the zones since December 14th of 2009. Once you learn how to apply them and use them, they'll become one of the most valuable tools in your trading toolbox. Okay? Now, we drew in this window of opportunity last night, which would take us from potentially 37.02 or 3 up to 37.35, and price didn't quite make it last night. But then after this downside head fake and then an upside head fake, this is difficult trading. Okay, all right. But then we launched 37.17. We didn't make it to the zone, but we did make it to 37.33. I'm going to guess that's about 16 points at $50 a point. And then the markets came unglued. When we took out this swing low, I hope everybody in the CFRN camp knew to be looking for short trades. Okay? We had a leg and a retracement and a leg and a retracement, and we're attempting to complete that leg, which takes us down to the weekly zone at 3604/3605. The short CTA numbers down at 35.96. Okay. Now, once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. Some days we see as many as 5, 6, 7 triggers on one alert. There was 2 here. Okay, the second one pushed up to 37.25, so that would be 8 points at $50 a point, $400 per contract traded. This one again up to 33 from 17, 16 points at $50 a point, and that's per contract traded. When you begin with us, you trade in sim until you put together 10 consecutive days in a row where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less. Only then do you think about trading your live account. The 24/20 blueprint will walk you through the process of going live with one contract, increasing your account balance to $2,000 by $2,000, and then the blueprint will notify you it's time to add contract number 2. But you It'll tell you when it's time to add number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, and beyond. But you only add one at a time, and you only add with profit you earned in the market. If you follow that, it makes it much more difficult to blow up an account. Not impossible, but you'll have to break a lot of rules. Okay? So if you're a member and you've not completed your business plan and your trading plan, just get to work on it. Okay? It's not going to do it itself. Garrett is here, so we're going to go to him right now. And so far we've just recapped the ES, but when we finish talking with Garrett, we'll cover the rest of the markets: the Dow, the Russell, the NQ, crude, gold, silver, and the euro. Garrett, let me get your mic open, and then I will pass the charts over to you. Garrett, you have an open mic. Are you there? Garrett, are you there? There he is. There he is. Good afternoon, Garrett. Well, morning to you, because you're on the West Coast with me. But I can't hear you. It says you're talking, but I don't hear you. Text, Garrett.
What do you want to say?
Garrett, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Done.
Okay. So he's been notified. I can't hear him. Looks like he's going to try to dial in on the phone. So let me send him the super secret pin. I just did. So we'll hear his voice here in just a moment. So we'll take that time to jump onto the Dow. Market open here, quiet consolidation, tiptoed up to the CTA number, which was 33.15. We made it up to 33.32. Not quite $100 per contract traded. Then we get back below the BBC, and then we get back above, and then we pull back, and the pullback holds. It holds more often than not. This time it means business. From 315, we make it all the way to the target at 455. Roughly 100 points, $5 a point, $500 per contract traded. And then price dips back below and triggers again and runs right back to the target, putting in a slightly lower high. Now we've consolidated at this weekly zone. Only 3 things happen at a zone. And the short CTA is here. You want to let price get below this swing low right here, which is identical to this swing low. You see that? Price has to break that support level before it can trigger the short CTA. All right, let me see where we are with Garrett. Audio pin sent. Okay. Well, hopefully he gets it figured out. On the Russell. Market open, same quiet consolidation for hours that we saw on the ES and the Dow. Then we got our rally on, and from 1747 we made it up to 1750. 3 points, $50 a point per contract traded. Then we got back below the trigger, triggered again, made it all the way to the target, 47 to 51. That's 4 points at $50 a point. And then we get back below the trigger and we do it again. Then we get back below the trigger and we don't do much here, okay, or here. But on this pullback and this rally, see red and falling, turning to blue and climbing, okay. Even though we stretched it, the pullback held because this candle, and this candle are still touching the BBC, and we exceeded the target and ran all the way up to 1764. It's over
Dwayne?
$1,000 per contract traded.
Hello?
Garrett, yes, we can hear you now.
Boy, I had my earbuds on
Mm-hmm.
and it said everything was hooked up, but apparently not, huh?
Well, I don't know. We could see that you were here, and I could see the little
Yeah,
thingamajig making
I, I could,
movement that you were talking, but we couldn't hear you.
yeah, I could hear you, and then we had apparently trouble with my headphones last time, so I was using the earbuds, and anyway, but you can hear me now.
Perfect.
Good. What do you think's going to happen on the S&P here?
Well,
Now that I got you, I know you were just doing that.
we drew these Fibonacci price extensions of the last leg down last Friday afternoon. I posted them after the markets closed in the Telegram discussion group, drawing from the
We hit
low
the 50%.
to the
We went a
high
little bit below the 50% mark.
to the retracement. Well, first we came down to the 38% fib extension and bounced. Day 2, we bounced. Day 3, we bounced. But yesterday, day 4, we cracked it, and as you just said, we spiked the 50%. And then we ran right back up to the BBC, and we know the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. And this down day came as no surprise. We're sitting on top of the 38% fib extension right now. So unless buyers show some level of commitment, then most likely we're headed back to the 50, then the 62, and a 100% price extension of this leg right here would put the market at 32.24.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know whether, with that move down, the initial move down, that you'd have an A, maybe a B down, and maybe a C wave up to where your yellow arrow is there, which is about 3,800. But it seems like the green line is, for the most part, turning things down. So
pull back to the BBC, which is the green line, stands for bull bear cross. When price is above it, we're bullish, anticipate higher prices. Below it, we anticipate lower prices. We're bearish. That's true across every market, every stock, every crypto, every forex pair, on every time frame from 1 minute to monthly. It's the underlying principle upon which markets operate. So, you want me to send the charts over to you?
sure.
Okay. And Juan, I'll do my best to get my trading view platform up so that we can go over the Ethereum that you want to cover after we finish talking with Garrett. So Garrett, let me make you the presenter. Here we go.
Everything over to the other screen here. There we go. Now let's see what we'll do.
Click accept
we'll
or
that,
OK,
and
I can see your desktop.
Okay, I'm trying to open this now.
And you did.
Okay, this is my very recent observations, where I'm talking about the foreboding month of October. And there was some very interesting, I'll just go through this fairly quickly. One thing that this market hasn't had is capitulation. We've sold off and so forth, but I was trying to explain what capitulation looks like here. Here, maybe you're just selling. Here people are a little bit concerned, so they're selling. And capitulation is when you're down here and it's like, sell. I hate the stock market. I'll never buy anything again. That's capitulation. That happened at the low in 2009. It happened at the low in 2020. It happens at a lot of lows where things are just being dumped.
It happened in 2000. .com bust.
It sure did. Yeah. And 87 and stuff like that. So you've had, some of them have been crashes. Some of them haven't been crashes per se. They've just some of them come after crashes. Anyway, that's what we need. Something evil this way comes. I'm talking about debt and a lot of the stuff that's going on at this time. This is kind of a little special report, and it's very interesting. There is a fellow named Aaron Brickman, who I can't remember how I found him, but he was on the internet, and now I think it's really been passed around, and lots of people have seen it. Not when I wrote this, but it's how things are. They get spread around, and he was talking about market crashes, and of course that's on everybody's mind now. And I thought I'd talk about market crashes, and because he did such good, I've done a lot of work on market crashes over the decades, just because they're interesting. I mean, what's in the stock market, what's more interesting than a stock market crash? It is by definition the most maximum emotion that can happen, and the stock market is emotion driven. So crashes, fear and greed motivate the market. I don't know about you, but I run faster when I'm experiencing fear than when I'm experiencing greed. Yes. So, and the markets do the same thing. That's exactly why a market crash is.
It happens in like that.
Yeah,
it takes financial. It takes financial
any
commitment
kind of market boom.
It takes financial commitment for prices to rise. But all it takes for the market to come undone is for buyers, institutional buyers, to simply stop buying. And then financial gravity takes over, and the hedge funds that specialize in short selling come out of the woodwork because they know they have no opposition. That's why price drops faster than it climbs. So sorry for interrupting, but I just want to make sure I got that across.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'll blow this up a little bit, because I thought I'd go, well, there you go. There's an understatement, huh? Let's do that.
There we go.
I wanted to go, let's just do my last, I was, leading into this, but then there's some things I wanted to talk about that I think the audience will find interesting with respect to crashes. And this is why this guy's video went so viral. I was just saying stock market crashes are rare. 1929, 1987 quickly come to mind. The 2020 crash was 35% in about a month's time, so it was certainly a crash. Otherwise, we have to dig. Some purists will say you've hit them all in the last century, but crashes come in degrees. The Asian contagion of 1997 was a crash. 9/11 was a crash. August of 2015 was a crash. Again, it's a matter of degree and of leniency and definition. Suffice it to say, crashes come as a surprise and have a greater fallout than corrections. Time and degree define crashes. So,
guys,
finally,
a correction is what we here at CFRN would call a pullback. Okay, go ahead.
And it says, finally, crashes are the ultimate form of capitulation. Now, here I want to get into what this guy, Aaron Brickman, has stated, because he's done some good research. And I wanted to say that I know some of these people that he's talked about personally I've known some of them for a long time. And I didn't get a chance to call them and confirm the stuff. So because he seems like a smart guy and a good researcher, I'm assuming his research is accurate, but it's pretty compelling. Here's what he says. He says it was pointed out that all crashes have a certain number of things that happen. In other words, they all share the same definition. And Chris Carolyn wrote about crashes in 1929, 1987, and 1997. And he noted that the bottoms of the crashes were all on the same lunar date. And so if things work out this year, and we do have a crash, that lunar date is October 21st. And if we do have a crash, that's when it should bottom. So how about that? I mean, a week from today.
That's
So,
impressive. A question I have is, I don't know when Chris wrote this, but was it prior to the
well, I
2000
think
crash and prior to the
I'll
mortgage-backed
probably
security?
answer that as
Okay,
we go forward.
all right.
Apparently, this process uses a lunar calendar, and the lunar calendar is 13 months or 30 days, as I understand it. The process counts forward 7 lunar cycles, so that's roughly 210 days, and then from the spring equinox. And the 28th day of the 7th lunar cycle is the panic bottom. Apparently, that's how October 21st came up. Again, I would go through and back check this and so forth. But what I wanted to do is get the information out because it was happening right now. And, if I research it, and by the time I get all the research done and call everybody and cross all my I's and dot all my I's and cross my T's,
Well, I do
it's
see in that next
after the fact.
line, I do see in that next line that he did include the 2008 crash. Okay.
Yeah. So he says this apparently was true for 1929, 87, 97, and 2008. Now, Steve Pitts is another fellow who's done some good research, and he pointed out that all crashes in U.S. History have the same footprint. The panic begins near a full moon that occurs within 6 weeks of a solar eclipse. Now, there's 2 solar eclipses a year, 6 months apart, so it doesn't happen that often. But he says the solar eclipse this year occurs on October 25th, which is 4 days after that low, calendar days. And on October 9th, we just had a full moon just a few days ago. So the panic phase falls between that time, roughly 12 to 15 days. All major crashes have this full footprint. So if we're thinking of 2015 or 1987, 1929, this is the kind of thing we see. Arch Crawford talks about the Mars-Uranus cycle that has been present in all the crashes of the 20th century. That cycle is definitely in effect now, and it'll be with us until December. And what that tells us is if we're going to have this crash, it's going to happen this year, not next year, because that doesn't happen next year. So if we're going to have it, it's going to happen now, and now we know what that window is. And if it's going to happen, it's going to bottom on October 21st. So at this point, it better happen pretty quick. Every crash in U.S. history has happened in the autumn, and all have been triggered by the high holy days of the Jewish calendar, which is also lunar based. Rosh Hashanah fell on September 25th to 27th. I gotta, you know what I'll do? Let me pop over my other chart, and I can probably show you this. This is funny because I moved, that thing that comes up with, the microphone, all that stuff that comes up on the chart when, for your webinar, and it's got all the little deals that you can do, show screen, etc.
Right.
I just put that in front of where my charts are, so so bear with me. I'll drag this one chart over. So, okay, let's see what we have here.
I'll let you know when I see it.
Yeah, bear with me. Why isn't this moving? Normally I can just drag this over. Must be Mercury retrograde, huh? That's when things are supposedly not working. Okay, right. I think we're there. All right. What we were looking for was September 25th to 27th. So here we go. There's September 9th. And the reason is that's Rosh Hashanah. There's September 21st, 22nd. Okay, 25th to 27th is right in here. So that's clearly not a big deal. However, the next Jewish holiday was Rosh Hashanah, which was the 4th and the 5th, and this has started from there, and we could be in the crash part of this phase. Crashes happen from lows. Here's a low over here. Here's another low over here. So if you're going to get a crash, they start to sell off, and then supposedly they really fall apart. That's what they're supposed to do. So now that we know where we are, let's go back to the thing. And it says here, Yom Kippur is the holiest day in Judaism, and it fell on October 4th and October 5th. In 1929 and 1987, it was stated the crashes began on Rosh Hashanah, accelerated on Yom Kippur, and completed on the Feast of Tabernacles, which apparently is October 21st. And boy, I don't know that, so I'm just parroting what this other person said. So if the Feast of Tabernacles has already happened, and we have Houston, we have a problem. Anyway, his point was that crashes seem to be governed by the Jewish calendar. So far, the market has rallied into the Yom Kippur and has fallen from that point. So that's kind of what I wanted to say on this. So what it's saying is we've got a lot of things going on here. A lot of these things have been crashes in the past and so forth. Now, by the way, if anybody wants to listen to this, it's an 1.5 hour interview. I think it's worth listening to. It's pretty good research. All you have to do is go to Rumble, rumble.com. This is, type in the Hagman report, Hagmann.
Mm-hmm.
And then scroll down until you'll see a bunch of them. Scroll down till you see August 25th. The dates are in there, and that's where you go if you want to see it. I just wanted to make that available to you, because then you can listen to him. With me, the old saying, I put it down here. I know what I'm saying. I don't know what you're hearing. And Mr. Brickman could say that same thing to me. Hopefully I heard what he was saying and transmitted it correctly. Here are some work that I've done in the past on 1929 and 1987, and take a look at them. I mean, they are pattern-wise about as close as you're going to get. If you wanted to do an analog, you could certainly use 1987 for 1929. And I counted the trading days here. So, here, 2, 4, whatever, but here's, 7 and 11, and, down we get here to 19, it's 22. You're not that far off. Up here it's 27. Whoop, up here it's 27. So here you top on the 27th trading day. Now, to be honest and fair, 1929, they traded on Saturdays, and present day software isn't able to do Saturdays and then be able to do where you've only got 5 trading days. It messes softwares up. So my software, I think, is the same as anybody else. The reality here is that whatever number of weeks this is, you've got another extra day per week that isn't showing up. But ironically, on the software that I have and probably everybody else has, it's going to show this many trading days. And when we compare it, they're pretty much identical. Look at this. You come down here, 33 days. Over here, 33 days. 34. Then you crash. And where do you stop? On the 39th day. Now the mark, so, I mean, it's right on the money. And then I thought, well, forget trading days. Let's just see what it is in calendar days, because that's not going to change. Whether it's on Saturday or not doesn't make any difference in calendar days, right? Well, it's 56 days for both. So these couldn't be more similar. And what he talks about is that 1997, 2008, and he says this year is just like 29, it's just like them. And I'm thinking, well, is it? He says it is, and maybe it is on all these other things. But when I look at it, I go, well, you know what? These crashes happen from all-time highs. And within 2 months of the all-time highs, essentially, your crash is done. And you've dropped 50% here, and you've dropped 41% here. So there you go. Well, 2 months after our crash, was, or after the top in this market was March of this year. We're that's a long time ago. So
Yeah.
no, it's not the same. Not the same at all. And what I did, I said, how can I make this look the same? I said, the reality is there's 5 times as many days that have happened in 2002 than what we had here. So they very definitely don't compare. Now, interestingly, what does compare is 2008. And I was trying to think, well, why would that be? And we've talked about it before. We've talked about Eisenhower and JFK talking about, something else is really behind the scenes running the show. Aldous Huxley kind of told us, and then in that same year, 1961, literally 61 years ago, was an incredible year where we were told all the things that we should have listened to then so that we don't have the problems that we have today. But we didn't listen then, and half of us aren't listening now. And on this, if I come out and say something like, it's fairly obvious to me that at the moment we're in a dictatorship. I mean, the majority of the people are going to say that's absolutely crazy. But a lot of people that study history and a lot of people that live in South America and have been through coups would say, things are kind of upside down in America. They've been that way for a long time. The police are bad, the criminals are good. The whole thing. God, let's remove God. I don't want to go over all the things there, but they're there. Everything's really upside down. But a person, a South American, is going to look at that and say, "Oh, that's easy. That's what happens when you have a coup." Just because we've had a silent and bulletless coup doesn't mean that we haven't had a coup. And when you look at the tenure of democracies, usually it's about 200 years. We're 240 years into it, so we're right there. And the funny thing about history is that when you're the country that they're talking about, in other words, we can talk about history and talk about Russia or Germany or Great Britain for that matter, and talk about their history and be very accurate on it. It's very similar with American scientists who talk about different species. I mean, we can tell you when the swallows are going to go to Capistrano and when the whales are going to be in the Monterey Bay and, all sorts of stuff, when the penguins, jump out of the water in Antarctica. I mean, we can say all sorts of things, but we're not really good about ourselves, are we? In other words, we haven't got ourselves figured out quite that well yet. That's why there's psychiatrists. So when the reality seems to be that when you are looking at yourself, either as a country or as an individual, it's not that easy. And my point here is that in 2008, as opposed to the earlier times, it's pretty clear to anyone who has an open mind to that. And again, they were telling us 61 years that it had already happened then. So 61 years later with 35 consecutive years of globalist presidents, both Republican and Democrat, things change. You change judges, you change all sorts of things. Apparently they changed the FBI. So lots of stuff has been changed.
You change district attorneys.
Yeah, I mean, you've changed things to tighten that control, and now they can start taking away. All we got to do is brainwash half the population, get them to believe everything we put on the news, even if the stuff that's there is a lie. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be political here at all, but it's incumbent upon us to, it's our freedom, isn't it? So if it gets taken away, whose fault is it? I guess it's our fault, huh? So what I'm trying to say is I kind of like freedom. I think anybody that's listening kind of likes it too. And therefore, we've kind of got to pay attention. So if you've got the news lying to you, I mean, they came out and said this dossier, Russia was involved. Trump's a bad guy. I don't care whether you
It
like
had
Trump or
it
not.
had the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, and who's the bad guy? Putin. Do you know that Putin is the only guy fighting against the globalists? The globalists want world domination and world control, and they've pretty much got it. They got it with central banking. They've buying off the politicians is easy. That when you run the central bank, it's pocket change. You want to buy off, I don't care who it is, a Bill Clinton or this or that. It's easy.
China is the far greater threat than Russia.
I mean, the way you get politicians is the way they've gotten them forever, probably for all time. Uh, Money, power, sex,
Mm-hmm.
drugs, and rock and roll. I guess.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard. And Bill Clinton says, "I'll take them all."
Without those, it ain't Woodstock. Yeah.
Yeah, give me some money, I'll do it. Give me some power, I'll do it. And Clinton says, "Well, give them all to me." But anyway, everybody's got their price. But the point is, by the time we got to 2008, what was going on in 2008? Well, you had
house across the street from me dropped from $300,000 in value to $100,000 in value, and I was a cheapskate and bid $90,000 and didn't capture 3 houses right across because I lowballed them. I lost 3 houses that have since tripled in value.
Yeah, well, but what was going on there?
Mortgage-backed securities.
Remember what happened? We're going, they're starting. It was set up to do QE, okay. But what was going on is there were vacant houses all over the place.
Yep.
And what they did is before that, they had changed the laws and they made it so that anybody could buy a house. And a lot of people who didn't deserve to be buying houses or shouldn't be.
The guy bagging groceries at Safeway could suddenly buy a $500,000 home. Yeah.
Exactly. And they shouldn't be doing it, but they could. They let them do it. And if you recall, a few decades before, my dog Wrigley, who's passed away, but Wrigley could have got a credit card. I put in, Wrigley Jones, boom, they send you a card.
Right.
Now, they're not stupid. They did this on purpose. What did they do after everybody got a credit card? Nobody thinks about these things. After everybody got a credit card, and it was so easy to get, what did they do? Well, they used their card, and they bought everything they wanted. And then they had debt. And then what did they do?
And every time they raised your credit limit, it was like you hit the lottery. And
well, but I wrote my politician on this, the local politician, and she's a crook too. But anyhow, what happened is the banks were coming out and they wanted to remove the usury laws, and their argument was that they wanted to be able to pay their depositors more money. Mm-hmm. And I thought, to the politicians that are voting on this, I said, how stupid are you? I said, I can tell this to a 10-year-old, and the 10-year-old's going to say, well, why would the banks want to pay more interest? But the intelligent adults aren't smart enough to pick that one up. I wrote to my congressperson. I said, you want to be a hero? I said, don't do that law, because that's not what it's about. It's not about the banks wanting to pay more money. It's about the banks wanting to be able to charge more money on their credit cards, on their loans, on everything else. Yep. And what happened? They passed the law. And what did the banks do? They charged more money. All of a sudden, you remember when credit cards were up at 30%, some of them 36%?
Oh, some of them are close to that level again right now.
Exactly. And what's your interest rate? Let's go back a year. What's your interest rate? 0. What's your credit card? Oh, 27%? Excuse me? I'm sorry. How does that compute? And oh, by the way, you're a congressperson. You took an oath of office, didn't you? That you're going to look out for your people? How do you let that happen?
Yeah, and raising interest rates has surely tamed inflation.
They did it with credit cards. And why did they do it? They did it so that they could bankrupt people. Why would they want to do that? Oh, goodness. Why would they want to do that? Because their plan, I mentioned 50 years ago, was to bring down Europe and then bring down the United States. How would they do it? We will do it with debt. It's exactly what they've done. And what else? Oh, immigration if necessary. Apparently was necessary. We've got an open border. And remember when they were pulling in all the Muslims in Germany and all of them? Remember that?
Yep.
So anyway, it's all there. It's all easy. But as this process is going on, you're going to have the news media lie to you. Why? Because they own it. And they've lied all the way through this. They lied about the credit cards. They lied about the banks wanting to pay more money. And anything that's on one of the secret tricks of the trade is wait till the news gets on a story and they stay on it. If they're on it and they stay on it for a long time, 9 times out of 10, it's just a monumental lie.
Yep.
What did they do with the
more
Russian?
times it's repeated, the more believable it becomes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, well, I can't remember the quote, but it's if you tell a lie long enough, it'll become the truth.
Yeah.
That's probably the quote.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's what's happened. It's like forget all the politics. Let's just and you know what's happened? We've taken half the population, and we've engineered. We'll tell a lie, and then we'll not only tell you the lie. We'll tell you how to think about it. And then after we tell you how to think about it, we'll inject emotion and that emotion will usually be anger. So they're going to talk about Trump and the horrible things that he did, meeting with the Russians. Oh boy, we're angry. Now not only do we believe it, which it wasn't true in the first place on either side. Russia wasn't involved and neither was Trump.
He was subpoenaed yesterday.
Yeah.
Has he commented on whether or not he's going to honor the subpoena? I guess he has to if he wants any shot at running
I try
again.
to tell people, I go, please wake up. We're in a dictatorship. Let me give you another example.
Oh, hey, guys, let me speak to the audience real quick. This is happening right now. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is holding a news conference at the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. This could lead to incredible volatility in the markets. Just want to give you a heads up. Go ahead, Garrett.
Yeah. Anyway, this whole thing they give us Republicans and Democrats and create battles between the two to distract our attention while they accomplish their goals. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on, folks. Their goal is world domination. They are succeeding and they're winning. Why are they succeeding and winning? Because we have been dumbed down. And boy, is that an understatement. They told us 61 years ago. For some reason, I was kind of listening. but it's unbelievable. This situation, InfoWars, Alex Jones. If you're a liberal, you're going to hate this guy. If you're conservative, is a great guy telling the truth. They've brought charges against him for $956 million. Excuse me.
Well, he did some pretty heinous. I got to say, Garrett, he did some pretty heinous things.
Like what?
The Parkland shooting was a hoax. Those were all actors. All those bodies that were laying in the street and that they buried, they were hired actors, and there's no bodies in those graves. That's what he's being sued for.
Some of the stuff. Now,
sometimes he tells the truth, and sometimes he makes crap up, and that's why I'll just say I don't listen to him. I tasted him and tested him, and he can't seem to separate truth from fiction, so I had to just back away. But that's just me. That's just me.
Here's my point. We have a thing called freedom of speech. So whether he's right or wrong, here's the difference. Here's the difference between liberals and conservatives, okay? And here is why conservatives are the true liberals and liberals aren't liberal at all. And I can give you an example after example. But here's the point. If a conservative, doesn't like guns, he doesn't buy one. If a liberal doesn't like guns, he wants to outlaw them for everyone.
Right.
And let's take away guns. Guns, say guns kill people. They don't. Guns don't get up and kill people.
Guns kill.
People
Yeah,
pulling the
people kill.
triggers on guns kill people.
Right.
So the reality is people kill people,
That's right.
not guns.
That's right.
It's kind of like, should we put all the spoons in jail for making people fat? You know, it's like, yeah, if your brain doesn't work, I guess that's a good idea. And my point with Alex Jones is this. You now got people that can walk into stores. They just closed down this one store in Philadelphia that's there to serve people and give them product, because the kids just go in there and steal whatever they want. And until they steal $500, nobody's going to do anything. And obviously, if you're not going to do anything when somebody's stealing $100, what you do to that person at $500 is maybe you bring him into the police station and then you let him out 5 minutes later, because that's what they're doing with people that are killing people. I mean, if we don't wake up, we will lose this country. We've already lost the government. That's gone. If somebody wants to believe that's not the case. But here's my point. You get a situation where people are committing crimes, beating people, killing people. Murderers get out of jail. Murderers aren't fined $956 million, are they? Nope, they're not. And what's happening with some murders? They're getting out of jail.
This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now the people
this guy Alex Jones is the worst guy in the world, and we're going to fine him $956 million. One of the things that he's doing is exposing them. And by the way,
well, they can't get that. They can't win that suit unless he's proven guilty by a jury of his peers.
I don't know on the situation that you're talking about on what he was saying about actors, but they're
all
very
the kids,
definitely,
all the dead bodies. It was a hoax.
Not all the dead bodies, but they have proven that there are people that were in. I don't remember the one you were talking about, but remember the Boston Marathon one?
Yeah,
I
don't
that
know
were
that
in that Boston Marathon were in other ones too.
Yeah, I don't know that I buy that. There's so much fake news out there. It's very difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's very difficult.
Well, on that one issue,
Photoshopping, you can do literally anything with deep fake videos, deep fake pictures, and someone who knows how to use Photoshop.
Well, the one thing that he's doing is that he's trying to bring back the my thought is, what's somebody's message? What are they trying to accomplish? Are they going toward freedom, or are they going away from freedom? That's number one. Number two is, are they going toward control or away from control? Number three is, are they going toward unity, or are they going toward division? So those are the questions I want to ask first. I don't care about your political party. I don't care what anybody's thinking politically. I want to know if you're toward God or away from God. I want to know if you're toward liberty, freedom, or you're toward control. And I want to know if you're wanting to divide us or if you're wanting to unite us. Once I get that figured out, then I'll start breaking down the issue. But if I've got somebody that wants to divide us, I'm gone. I don't care. I don't care what the rest of it is. I'm not going to waste my time. If you're not for the Constitution, if you're not for freedom, I don't want to hear the rest of it.
I'm sorry. I said Parkland. It was Sandy Hook. I got that part wrong.
Okay, but again, is that a major issue? Yeah, sure, people are alive or dead, but it doesn't have anything to do with removing our freedom. Well, it does. I mean, it's another fear thing, right? How do these people do it? They create fear. Everything is fear, fear and division. No, you don't see anything about the Eagle Scout. That's on page 54 and buried, or the guy that saved somebody. It's just somebody who murdered somebody who did this. And what's another lie? Oh, the great pandemic. The great pandemic was what was necessary to create the fear, to force people to take the vaccine. I just got off the phone with my daughter who lives in Boulder, Colorado. One of her best friends had to get the vaccine. She didn't want it, but she had to get it to go see her mother who lived in another country. And so she took the vaccine, and she was very sad, telling my daughter, I just didn't want to do this, but I've got to go see my mother. So she takes the vaccine. Killed her. She didn't have. They found they gave the they gave the reason as a form of cancer. They did the autopsy. It wasn't true. It was the vaccine. And there's all sorts of people dropping over from that. But do you hear it on the news? Don't hear it on the news. You hear take it. So it's just
Everybody I know
people.
who's gotten the vaccine has gotten COVID.
Oh well, it's completely ineffective. It's not safe. It's safe and effective. No, it's not safe and it's ineffective. And there's all sorts of people that have died from it.
Yep.
Young, healthy people.
More people have
And it's
died from
all
the
over the
vaccine
place.
than have died from
And
COVID.
there's one place that it isn't though, and that's the news.
Yeah, right.
The news will not report that. Why? Well, we already talked about that. They're owned by the people that own the central banking system and that own your politicians. And they have an agenda. And it's the last thing you'll ever hear. Nobody will talk about it. They'll talk about Sandy Hook and everything else before they talk about what's really going on. But the good news is, I think that's going to change.
Most of them don't understand what's really going on.
By the way, what I did here on these two charts, getting back to 2008 and 2022, where we are, is I said, since there's so many more days, what could I do where these charts would kind of look like each other? And I said, and what I figured out is, well, if I use a weekly chart, then all of a sudden with a weekly chart, now my numbers down here, look at this, 22, 29, you know, that's starting to look not too dissimilar to this, huh? You know, 20, 27, 27, 22, 29. And then here we already know what it is because 2008 already happened. It goes down here to, you know, 52 at the crash here. And it was 39 over there in 56 calendar days. So all of a sudden that's there. So now at this point, we've got these lines that I've put in down here, come up, down here, come up, come down here, come down lower, come back up, and then you start your crash. And the interesting thing about it, you've got this down, up, and over here now, currently, down, up, and now this down part. We come down here. If it's going to follow this one, then you come up for, in this case, about a month, and then roll over. And is that what's going to happen in here? I don't know. But these 2 years are not like 87 and 29. And that's what the gentleman said. Now, he made the comparison on another basis than what it looks like. You know, those two happened, the crashes happened after the tops and within 2 months. And we're way beyond that. This one here was like a year later. This topped in October of 2007. And you didn't really, you know, get the wave of your crash here until you were almost a year later.
Right.
And we've got the better part of a year out of the way. You know, we got 10 months of it out of the way, or just about.
It's been a downtrend since May 29th on the S&P E-mini. And cash index as well.
One other thing I was going to show you is this. By the way, really some interesting stuff with respect to Mr. Biden and taking the oath of office to do the best for his country and the people. So we close the Keystone Pipeline so we don't get oil. We open the border. You know, it's just, it's like, could we have anybody?
Somebody blew up the Nord Stream pipeline 1 and 2, and boy, that dropped out of the media coverage like overnight, as if it never happened.
The United States did that.
Well, I don't know that the United States did it, but the last person who had a reason to do that would be Putin, because that was going to be his cash cow as he, sold very expensive gas to
It
Europe this
certainly, yeah,
winter for
it
people to
certainly
keep
wasn't
warm.
done by Mr. Putin, was
Well, it
it?
wasn't. No, no, he's the last person
And
that had anything to
interestingly,
gain from blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline.
isn't it interesting that you had a new pipeline all ready to go
Yep.
right after they blew it up? And there's, I forget the two countries, they're right there. That were part of it. I think I've got it in my my write up here. But the hang on, let me see where this. Anyway, there were two countries where that pipeline came back on, and America. Now we're going to take our reserves to take care of Europe, and as I said, NATO's been on Putin's border for years. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because he's against the globalists, and he doesn't have the Rothschilds running his banking system, and they don't like that. They didn't like Napoleon, and they didn't like Hitler when they did that either, and they own the news. So anyway,
They didn't
this
like
will
it when
come out.
They didn't like it when John F. Kennedy attempted to take
They
back
didn't like
control of
John
the
Kennedy
U.S. dollar.
either, did they?
No, no, nope.
John Kennedy wanted to get rid of him too.
Yep.
They got rid of him. So, gee, I wonder. You got John Kennedy. Was he really a bad guy? No, he was a great American who loved his country and wanted the best for it. Was Trump a bad guy? Well, yes. So we've read about that. No, you're going to find he's not any different than JFK. He loved his country and wants to get rid of these guys too. But he's a bad guy. So it kind of makes you wonder, because everybody knows it's like what Reagan said about Democrats. They know so much it isn't true. And that goes for Republicans too. We all know what we're told. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't know it. You were just told it and you're parroting it. You don't look it up. Was Napoleon a bad guy? Oh, yeah, he was horrible. Really?
He had heartburn.
Was he? Was Hitler a bad guy? I don't know. He had a 99% approval rating. And he didn't hurt a hair on any Jew's head who lived in his country until after they forced him into the war. But nobody knows their history, and nobody does that. So, and I don't know. But why did the guy have a 99% approval rating, and why did the neighboring country, Austria, who was getting suppressed by the bankers, the banksters, all of a sudden change their banking thing, come over and do what Germany did, and all of a sudden they had a boom. All of a sudden their economy was just fine. Hitler's economy went from nothing to where he turned it around and made that country much better for everybody. And then he did it in Austria, saw it, and they went along with it and had a high approval rating there. But what do we hear? Well, he was a terrible guy. They wanted to come out of that war. All he wanted to do was to be able to trade because he had an industrialized nation when he built it up, and they wouldn't let him trade. And what are they doing with Putin? It's just history just repeats itself, and again, people refuse to read it and look at what's going on. Here, look at all this. These are coal-fired power plants. The EU has 468. They're building 27 more. Turkey has 56. They're building 93 more. The Philippines, South Korea, Japan, 90, China, 2,363, and they're building 1,171 more. But we're told we're not going to build them because they pollute. Are you kidding me?
But we're going to buy their oil.
So we have 15. We have 15, and we're building no more, and we're the only country in the world that isn't.
Idiocy.
So who suffers? Does Putin suffer?
The American people, the taxpayer. Let me ask you one question for the audience. It
takes money out of the Americans' pocket. So getting back to that prior argument, we were talking about credit cards where my dog could get one. Mm-hmm. All that was to get people into a debt situation and belly them up. Did it do it? Yes, it did. What happened in 2008 with the real estate market? Everybody go out and buy a house. Well, I don't really make much money. Oh, it doesn't matter. Just go ahead, go get a house. Don't worry about it. So they go out and do it. What did they do? All of a sudden, the houses were all over the place. And what was I waiting for? like you. I was waiting for prices to come down. They came down. And what else should come down if real estate prices are coming down? Well, rents should come down, right? If your real estate prices are down all over the country, shouldn't your rent come down?
Yep.
Of course it should. Just like if a car price comes down, you know. Well, what happened? Did rents go down? No, rents went up. And what happened? All of a sudden, there was a glut of houses all over the place. You could have picked and choose whatever you want. And what happened? Out of nowhere, they were all gone.
Corporations snapped them up, turned them into rental
And
properties.
how did that happen? Well, I think you'll find that BlackRock
Yep.
and Vanguard
Mm-hmm.
and State Street
Mm-hmm.
and Blackstone
Yep.
and some of these people bought them all up.
That's right.
And I'll bet you there was a silent agreement of a guarantee, but there didn't need to be a guarantee, would there? I mean, if you're buying a house from the bank, 17 cents on the dollar, because it's not the bank's money, they just created a credit entry, right? Or debt. So, well, we're all banksters, we're all buddies here. Yeah, you can buy that house for 17 cents on the dollar, or make it 25 cents. And then what are you going to do? Well, we're not going to drop rents. We're going to keep rents real high. So all of a sudden, their buddies got our homes and they got them for nothing. And as soon as it went over, what happened to prices? Well, they went back to where they were. So they made a multiple, not, oh, well, we got a good compounded 15% return, which of course would be great. No, we made 400%.
For those who know,
we made 400%,
for those,
and we're getting more in rent in a year than what we paid for the house.
For those who know what
criminal?
For those who know what Section 8 housing is, it's for people who can't afford a place to live, and the government steps in and they build what they used to call the projects. But the allotment for a single man in Phoenix for a one-bedroom apartment via Section 8 is $1,800 a month.
Unbelievable.
Let me give you one question from the audience, then I got a dash. James asks, even though the 1929 comparison was very wise, what caught my attention was more likely to see further decline that becomes a bear trap. Does that mean there is a rally after this correction, not a crash? Well, let me just give you my answer real quick, James. The indices are going to go higher over time. The index, the S&P 500 index, is always going to go higher over time. That's by design. The weak companies are booted out and strong bullish companies are brought in. So, yes, we'll have corrections, we'll have crashes, we'll have all of those things. And you can call it a bear trap for a while until the next correction retracement comes along. But over time, the indices will always go higher. So, all right, your answer to the question.
My comment would be, how old are you? You know, because if you were in 1929, unless you were just a great trader and making money on the way down and you didn't care, but whether it was real estate or the stock market, it didn't reach 1929 levels to 1954. So, well, yes, during a bull market, you always go back to new highs, and it doesn't take much time. Sometimes that time period's 10 years, but frequently, even after a horrible correction of 35% in 2020, you regained it relatively quickly. Once you finish this cycle, and I don't know if this top is the top, maybe we're down into wave 4 here and we're going to run up and make a higher high. But when that high comes in and we finish this 90-year cycle, the last one took 25 years to recover. So
I believe the potential exists, and I've said it on the show before. I believe the potential for the S&P 500 is to test the highs of 2000 and 2007. I think that's very much a reality, whether it happens this time or next time or eventually. However, over time, as you just explained, the markets go higher. You know? Now, individual stocks can go to zero, but the indexes, the indices, will never go to zero because the weak companies are going to be pulled and they're going to be replaced with strong companies. So over time, you know, if you don't want to get tied up in trading every day, then just buy the S&P 500 index when you're 21 and forget about it until you're at retirement age, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, unless you get one of these 90-year corrections in there, and that's
Nah.
where
Well, you can also
that's
get
where
hit.
we
You
are
can
now.
also get hit by a bus. So
Sure, yeah, but I mean, in other words, the Dow was at 381 and went to 40, and stayed down there for a while. But here's another part of that might pertain to his question. Here's the bull market. There's the 2009 low. Now this is a stochastic, and these are monthly. This is a monthly chart, so this is a longer term picture. And here's what's really interesting. If you I'll ask you, Dwayne, if you're really going to look at an oversold period, whether it's stocks or whatever, gold, doesn't matter, what comes to mind in recent terms?
well, there's support coming around 32, 3,300.
No.
Maybe
I
34.
mean,
What's
if
the
you're really
question?
looking at serious, if you were going to tell me a serious oversold bottom, when would that be?
Uh,
March of 2020, right? I don't care if you're looking at
uh,
gold.
yeah, no, I'm looking more. I'm looking further back than that.
You're looking for what?
I said I'm looking further back than that. Uh, that low,
Well,
that extreme low that you're showing on the chart there, is that March of 2020?
this is March of 2020 right there.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm talking
What my
about.
whole point was, if you want to look at prices, Tesla, gold, I don't care what, if you want to have a fresh in your mind comparison, this low, you'll see prices unbelievably low at this point compared to what they were here and really compared to where they were now. Here's my point. This was kind of the extreme comparison for, I'm not going back 2,000 years or 100 years or anything like that. I'm just looking at it. This was your last super low. Now, the last super low is the beginning of the bull market, okay? But this one really brought prices down.
Sure.
And you've had
Some
in
stocks
here,
went to zero, but the index never will.
yeah, well, but what my point is when you're in a bull market, here's what's happened. Even at these are the big corrections right here. Every time you get into this bottom zone where these vertical lines are, this is 2010, 2011, 2016, 2018, the Christmas low in March of 2020. These are huge sell-offs. And here's where they got on the indicator. Well, this is only a 25%er. This one's 35%. Okay, this one's 25%. This one over here is 57.7%.
Right.
And it got down here. Look where we are.
I see it.
We're down here. In this respect, we're more oversold than here. Now, I've taken this back. I've done it on the NASDAQ, and I've gone back to 1921. On the S&P, you have to change over before 66 to the Dow, and then I did it on the NASDAQ on the other ones. And every time this has happened, you've had a rally. Now, in 1929, you did come down here. This was would have been 1921, 1930, you got down here. What happened? You got a rally, but then this thing kept going down and down and down. And so I point this out because what we were talking about at the beginning of this was a crash, was a guy doing all this research about having a crash. And it's all there. And can we have a crash? Yeah. But if we're going to have it, supposedly by what he says, it should be over by October 21st if we're going to have it. So what we're right, I'm glad to be on today because we're right in the
7
window.
days from today. That's next Friday, 21st.
Yeah, I wanted to share that. And can you have a crash in a week? You bet you can.
Oh, yeah.
Do I think we're going to have one? I couldn't tell you. I don't have a clue. But I think it's important to look at this too and then see if you're breaking lows and take a look at price action. But this is what I put out, like whatever it was a week ago. And just kind of saying that if we were going to have it, he was kind of implying that crash, that we'd be right in the middle of it right now and it would be unfolding this whole week. And when I looked at this, and I said, I don't think so. I think we're going to get a rally there. and a rally, we did. We right around that time, as a matter of fact, is we went down and, as you said, made that low, and then we came back. So anyway,
we had a 1-day rally.
yeah. You had a
Or
1-day
extended
rally
into
from
two.
that
It
low,
extended into
and
2 trading sessions, and then we hit the daily VVC and the bottom falling out again. So
yeah, and now
hey,
we've got to see if this thing is, because if it rolls over here, and it appears to be doing that, maybe we've got this crash right in front of us this week, and if that works out, and it's the October 21st again, we may be down at the numbers you were talking about, 32.24, as I recall, isn't that right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
That was.
if it's down there at 32.24, that's almost 400 points lower than where we are right now.
Yes, it is.
So that would be a fun play on the downside, and probably a nice bottom to buy for your seasonal rally into the end of the year if we follow seasonality and World War III doesn't start. So
Hey, Garrett,
anyway,
it's been a pleasure, and come back next week. In fact, come back next Friday if you want to, which will be the 21st. But let me know what day you want to come back next week, because I've still got some stuff to cover with these guys, and then I've got to get out of here and go do life. So I really enjoy having you on the show. You're always welcome anytime. Just shoot me a text. You're in like Flynn. You got an open door. But for sure, come back next week, and in particular, come back next Friday if you'd like. If you want to come on earlier than that, let me know.
I may be in the middle of a crash, but yeah, thanks so much. I've got some stuff to send you, and I'll send it to you first, and then when you read it and say, what the heck is this, I'll tell you, because it's pretty exciting, pretty encouraging. Here we are in a time of a lot of bad things happening, and I think there's some real encouraging things happening. You got to look through all the bad stuff, but I think there's some real positive things going on, not political. That hopefully goes on too. But anyway, maybe I'll share this with you. As soon as I get off, I'll email it to you.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for it.
And then I'll tell you what it is when you have time. Give me a quick call.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks, Dwayne. Bye.
Okay, guys. Let's see. We covered the S&P daily. We covered the S&P 30-minute. We covered the Dow. I think we were just getting into the Russell. I don't remember. Okay. CTA numbers. We hit the target again and again and again and exceeded it. On the downside, we haven't hit the final trade 2 target. This was a little tricky one here because we had this bullish cross. When there's a bullish cross, which leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, you expect it to be good support. Okay, so we made a couple stabs to the downside from 1700 down to 1694, and then another attempt made it down to 1696, and the current candle is trying again. But please take this home. There was ample opportunity, as we discussed last night in the workshop, to get your go over the day before price ever got to this number. And if you weren't trading last night, there was so much room to get your go over the day before we got to this number. So don't spend your life waiting for price to get the horizontal lines that I draw. Okay? Learn the strategy, learn the methodology, learn to read the chart, understand how price flows fluidly across every market and every time frame. Take control of your own financial destiny. We're here to help you every step of the way. You've got around-the-clock support, unlimited one-on-one mentoring, 2 hours of live training in live markets every trading day, the logic alerts, the concierge alerts, Thursday night workshops, so much more. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. HenQ triggered on the upside. The first move took us up $80. And then we triggered again. and it took us up 300 bucks. And then it triggered again, and it took us up 260 bucks. And then it triggered again and ran all the way to the target that time, from 170 to 230. We'll call that $1,200 per contract traded. And then we dropped to the zone, consolidated. Remember, only 3 things happen at a zone. And we've punched through the short side once from 837 to 783. That's $1,000 per contract traded. Back above the trigger, down again, back above the trigger, down again, back above the trigger, down again. The current move, the low of the current move is 809. That's roughly $1,500 per contract traded. Crude oil, no trigger on the long side, but you can see where the market found resistance on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday at the zone. Where did it find support yesterday, Thursday? At the zone. Where did it find support today? Friday, at the zone. Remember, these zones were published for our members Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, just as we've done since December 14th of 2009. Promise you, once you understand how this works, they will become one of the most important tools in your trading toolbox. Okay, so from 87.70 we caught a drop to 87.02, $680 per contract traded. Back above the trigger, down we go again. This time the drop is to 87. I'm going to call it, it's $460 per contract traded. And then back above the trigger, and then we drop all the way to the target, which is 8550/8560. This final move right here, over 3 30-minute candles, $1,100 per contract traded. True story. Gold, 1669. We caught a drop to 1665. We'll call it 66. That's $300. Should be $370 per contract traded. When the price of gold moves $1, it's worth $100. When the price of crude moves $1, it's worth $1,000. When silver moves $1, it's worth $5,000. So we triggered, and we triggered, and we trigger. Remember, once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. And so on this drop, we make it down to 67.4. That's $160 per contract traded. And then we get back above the trigger, and we drop. Everything's perfectly in place. We're below the BBC. We've got red and falling overhead. You've got price, and then the step line, and then red and falling. Okay. And that drop took us to the tick, to the target. From 69 to 56. Oh, 69 to 56. $1,300 per contract traded. And then we pull back to the BBC, which held, but it had to reach up and get above that important price, important area one more time. And then it did the same thing again. From 69 to 57, $1,200 per contract traded. Now we've traded below this zone. We've even taken out the low of yesterday. But you are looking at the lowest weekly trading zone for gold this week. So that's extreme. Okay, keep that in mind when we open Sunday night and alerts start coming out. Silver, we had some two-sided action. 2 pennies is $100. From $19 up to $19.01, that was $50. and then 200 bucks back below the trigger, and then 250 bucks, and then we dropped, and from 1874 we dropped to 1858 back above the trigger, from 74 down to 59 back above the trigger last time, and all the way to the target. Okay, 74 to 54. That's 20 pennies. That's $1,000 per contract traded. And the last euro. Here we go. No trigger on the long side. Trigger on the short side. Retracement. Another trigger. Dropped right to the target. The weekly zone on every short alert. The final trade to target is the zone below. On the long, it's the zone above. That never changes. Okay. 1, 2, 3. This one a little difficult because you got blue and climbing right at the trigger, but here you don't, and we get another drop. We don't quite make it all the way to the trade to target, but that one candle certainly was more than enough to create your goal for the day on either one of those triggers. So let's take one last look at the daily chart. Okay, where's price? Still sitting right above that 38% fib extension, which was support, support, support. Then it wasn't. Now it's back to being support again. Markets have grown almost eerily quiet. Let's see where we close today. I'll publish something in the members discussion group over the weekend to help you prepare for when the markets open Sunday night. Again, to get your lifetime membership, your all access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, whatever we do in the future. That includes live training every day, unlimited one-on-one mentoring, around-the-clock support via Telegram, a methodology and strategy, plus indicators that you can use to trade futures, individual stocks, crypto, and Forex. Up and come on, hang on. I pulled up a trading view chart for you. Let me get it up here. Okay. Ethereum versus the US dollar. Okay, same indicator set, different platform. On the daily chart, price pulls back to the BBC. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't until we get a leg, a retracement, a leg, a retracement, a leg, till price can go no higher. So then we trade below the BBC, and what do we get? A pullback to the BBC. What does the pullback do? It holds. It holds more often than it doesn't. Gives us a leg, retracement to the BBC that holds, and it holds, and it holds, and it holds, till it doesn't hold. We know eventually it won't hold, and then it flips. We get a leg and a retracement, and a leg and a retracement, and now what's happened here, red and falling turned to blue and climbing, so we had a lot of sideways days. Now blue and climbing has turned back to red and falling. So the next high probability move, sadly for every Ethereum holder, is potentially, even though we got a green candle today, before we can have upside projections, we need to see price on top of that BBC. So from where we sit right here, right now, the BBC represents resistance, and support is at the low of the 13th day of October. Yesterday. Okay. Now, did you have any other specific questions about Ethereum? Now, you should be able to do this yourself on the TradingView chart. The indicators are the same. They look a little different when they're displayed on TradingView, but everything is identical to what you see Michael and Valerie and myself and Bert use day in and day out on DT Pro. The only difference is you can pick individual stocks if you want. StoneX, why not? StoneX bought out Gain Capital. Here it is on a daily chart. We get a leg that takes us above the BVC, the pullback holds. We get another leg, the pullback holds. We get a leg, the pullback holds. Then we get a huge leg. And blue and climbing turns to red and falling. Once we get back below the BVC, we get a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, and a leg. And then we get back above the BVC, 3-day leg, a retracement to the BVC that holds, and a leg. And StoneX dropping today, along with the rest of the markets. Okay. We did Ethereum, we did stocks. The only thing we didn't do was Forex. So let's go Euro US dollar. Price gets below the BVC. We get a nice leg down. Retracement to the BVC. Pullback holds. Pullback holds. Here the pullback ultimately holds, but you can see it. Leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg. This retracement takes us back above the BVC where we get a leg and a retracement. And then the market runs into red and falling, which takes us back below the BVC. And then we get a retracement to the BVC that holds. We get a leg down and a retracement and a leg and a retracement, a leg. Futures, individual stocks, crypto, Forex. Everything we teach you in the live training room every day, the methodology and strategy you learn, the indicators you own for life, are fluid across every market, every time frame. From 1 minute to monthly, and from all the markets I just showed you. As a passport holder, you also get the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, and access to the Thursday night members only workshop. Point your browser right now to eminifuturestrading.com. Grab your passport. Valerie will swing into action and make sure you're ready to hit the ground running Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern when the Globex markets open and we go to work. If you have questions, call 949-42-EMINI or email support@cfrn.net. Okay. Let's do the good word for the day, and everybody can go have a great weekend. We talked the other day about, are you at the end of your rope? We also talked about yesterday cultivating a taste for God's Word. Today, our topic, knowing who belongs in your life. You know, there's a very popular book. I can't remember the name of the author, but the point of the book is who the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life. You're going to become an amalgamation of those 5 people. We're like sponges, okay? If you're poor, hanging out with poor people is not going to help you find financial success. You know, go to Goodwill, buy the best suit you can, you know, and start rubbing shoulders with those who have money. I mean, that's just one simple example. if you go to the barbershop enough, you will get a haircut. If you have a problem with drinking, stay out of the bars. If you have a problem with crack, stay out of the crack house. Okay? Who you associate with, who you spend the most of your time with. Now, why the author of this very famous New York Times best-selling book chose 5 people as opposed to 4 people or 6 people, I don't know. I haven't even read the book. All I had to do is read the book cover. I've understood that concept for a long time, for many years. Your parents even warns you, don't run with the wrong crowd. Okay? If you're running with the wrong crowd, fix it. Politely. With Christian love. No, I don't really want to go to the bar tonight, but I'd love to invite you to go to church with me tomorrow morning. Pretty soon, they'll either go with you to church or they'll stop asking you to go to the bar, if that's an issue. Okay? All right, from the Amplified Translation, Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times and is born as is a brother for adversity. Wherever you live and whatever your profession, butcher, baker, or candlestick maker, you will have to deal with these 3 kinds of people. Number 1 is the critic. Let's face it, most people are comfortable with the status quo. They not only fear change, but will often attack it. So if you dare to be different, prepare to sail through some rough seas. The Apostle Paul's critics referred to him as a madman, a fool, and a babbler. So why would you expect the same crowd to treat you any better? Number 2, remember, in life, there's 3 kinds of people. The critic's number 1. Number 2 is the cautious. These people won't point an accusing finger, but neither will they extend a helping hand. When you get into trouble, they will distance themselves from you, fearing they may be tainted by your perceived liabilities. Basically, they will wait to see if you make it through the tunnel and come out the other side. Then they will wait to see who else accepts you and if you can be of benefit to them. At that point, they may reconnect with you. These people are users. They're not bad, they're just self-serving. So love them, but don't lean on them. And number 3, the committed. A friend, a true friend, loves at all times and is born as is a brother for adversity. See, the committed person, even when they hear the worst about you, the committed still believes the best about you. Kind of like God. They value you for your strengths and show grace in handling your weaknesses. These people are priceless because they will love you at all times. The good, the bad, the sick, you know. So when God puts such a person into your life, protect and nurture your relationship with that person, because they will not forsake you like God. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell. Have a great weekend.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.